This coin almost slipped through history unnoticed, a single cent struck in 1979 at the Denver Mint, yet today, it's whispered about in collector circles as being worth not just thousands, not just hundreds of thousands, but up to $2.8 million. Imagine it, a penny, the kind you might have tossed in a change jar, or used to pay for a stick of gum, suddenly transforming into a life-changing fortune. But how could a simple 1979 Lincoln penny hold such unimaginable value? The answer lies in secrets buried deep within the U.S. Mint, secrets of errors, varieties, and overlooked anomalies that only a handful of people ever recognized, and yet, one man's discovery would shock the entire numismatic world, because in 2010, a collector stumbled upon a 1979 penny that looked ordinary at first glance. But the moment he placed it under magnification, his hands began to tremble. There, hidden in plain sight, was a striking flaw in the minting process, a detail so rare, so bizarre, that experts couldn't believe it survived circulation at all. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Auction houses began buzzing. Dealers scrambled. Collectors whispered in disbelief. The penny that had once rattled in someone's pocket, was now making headlines, its value climbing into the millions. This was not just a single fluke. Rumors spread that more examples could be out there, hiding quietly in drawers, coffee cans, or forgotten rolls of change tucked away in attics. Think about that. The next time you dump out a jar of pennies, you could be staring at a coin worth $2.8 million, but let's rewind. Let's uncover the mystery of how this coin came to be. In 1979, the Denver Mint was producing billions of Lincoln Memorial cents. Billions. That's why most collectors never paid much attention to them. They were common, everyday coins, not rare relics. But inside that ocean of copper-coated zinc, a few slipped through with critical minting mistakes. A double die obverse, misaligned strikes, even transitional planchets where the wrong metal was used. To the untrained eye, these pennies looked normal. But under the loupe, the truth screamed out. The doubling on Lincoln's date, the shift in his profile, the mint mark punched in a way no machine was supposed to allow. These mistakes turned ordinary pennies into once-in-a-lifetime treasures, and yet, the most astonishing part was that these errors remained unnoticed for decades. They lived their lives in circulation, traded hand to hand, dropped into vending machines, resting at the bottom of dusty piggy banks, until one sharp-eyed collector dared to look closer. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were desperate to get their hands on them. And at auctions, the bidding wars soared. A single penny, once worth 1 cent, now commanded prices that rivaled luxury cars, houses, fortunes. But here's where the story turns truly surreal, because the Denver Mint mark, that small d below the date, holds the key. Most people overlook it. They never notice its subtle position, its shape, its angle. But for the few who do, the payoff can be unimaginable. That mint mark can reveal whether you're holding a common coin, or a multimillion-dollar mistake, and here's the kicker, most people miss it. This tiny detail is why some 1979 pennies are now valued in the millions. One collector called it a miracle in copper. Another said, it's the kind of coin you don't just find, it finds you. Picture this. You're sorting through your change, the coins clinking under your fingers. You pick up a 1979 penny. At first, it looks ordinary, scratched, dull, brown with age. But then, something catches your eye. The date looks thicker than usual, the D appears off-center. Lincoln's profile seems doubled. Your heart races. Could this be it? Could this be the very penny worth up to $2.8 million? Collectors say that the thrill of discovery feels like lightning striking your soul. It's not just money, it's the realization that you've beaten impossible odds. That you, an ordinary person, held in your hands a treasure that history almost forgot, and yet, the greatest mystery remains unsolved. How many more are out there? How many people have unknowingly spent them, letting millions slip through their fingers at the grocery store or gas station? One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and yours could too. But what happened next stunned even the experts, because the moment these rare pennies began surfacing, the floodgates opened. Collectors across America began tearing through their old rolls, examining every mint mark under magnifiers, searching, hunting, hoping. Pawn shops received endless calls. Coin dealers couldn't keep Lincoln cents in stock. And for every ordinary coin examined, the dream grew stronger. Some gave up. Some kept looking. But for those who found them, life changed forever. Now let me reveal the truth you've been waiting for: how to identify this $1,000,000 penny. Here's what to look for. First, the mint mark, the D under the date. In some rare examples, it appears doubled, or struck at an odd angle. Second, examine the date, 1979. On the rarest coins, the doubling is dramatic, especially on the T9. Third, check the overall strike. Transitional planchets, pennies struck on the wrong metal, will have a different weight. A standard 1979 penny should weigh 3.1 grams in copper. But if it weighs closer to 2.5 grams, it could be a zinc transitional error, a jackpot find. These small details mean the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a fortune worth millions. So don't ignore your change. Don't dismiss that old jar of pennies. Because one tiny copper coin could hold the key to your future. Somewhere, right now, in America, someone is holding a 1979 penny that looks ordinary, but is worth over $2.8 million. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This penny almost ended up in a grocery store cash register, but instead, it stunned collectors when it was revealed to be worth nearly $3 million. That's right. A single 2007 mint mark Lincoln penny, the kind millions of us have seen, touched, and spent without a second thought, turned out to be a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. And here's the shocking truth: most people walk past this coin every single day. They spend it on coffee. They toss it in jars. They drop it in parking lots. But hidden inside certain 2007 Denver minted pennies lies an extraordinary mistake, a mistake so rare, so unbelievable, that it transformed an ordinary 1-cent coin into a multi-million-dollar miracle. But how could such a simple coin, struck less than 20 years ago, carry a value greater than most homes in America? The answer lies in a hidden story, a story of errors, accidents, and collectors who refused to give up the hunt. When the Denver Mint pressed billions of Lincoln cents in 2007, no one expected history to be made. The machines worked at lightning speed, stamping Abraham Lincoln's image into thin copper-plated zinc blanks. But in the shadows of that vast minting floor, a handful of coins were struck differently. Imperfections crept in. Dies cracked. Planchets misaligned. And a rare few pennies carried features so bizarre, so unexpected, that sharp-eyed collectors knew they had discovered something legendary. One such coin shocked the auction world. It looked ordinary at first glance, a simple brown penny, worn from circulation. But under the glass of a coin dealer's loupe, the truth was revealed. A doubling on Lincoln's eye. A distorted mint mark. A rim that seemed uneven. Details so small, most people would never notice them. But these microscopic flaws turned that penny into a prize worth over $2 million. But here's the part that sends chills down the spine of every collector: that coin had already been in circulation. It had passed through hands, through pockets, through coin rolls at banks. Someone once bought a soda with it. Another person may have dropped it in a tip jar. And yet, it was sitting there, hiding in plain sight, worth more than a mansion. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When the coin finally hit the auction block, bidding wars erupted. Dealers flew in from across the country, each one desperate to claim it. Prices skyrocketed past $500,000, then $1 million, and finally, nearly $3 million for a coin most people would have ignored. Collectors were shocked. Reporters scrambled to cover the story. And ordinary Americans began tearing through their change jars, hoping to find a miracle hiding in their hands. This wasn't just a one-time fluke. Other examples have been discovered: pennies from 2007 with strange doubling, unusual mint errors, and surfaces that don't match normal strikes. Some carry faint clashes between dies. Some show ghostly outlines of letters where they shouldn't be. Each one, depending on condition and rarity, has the potential to command a fortune? The answer lies in the pressure of production. The U.S. Mint was striking billions of coins to meet demand, and Denver was working at an incredible pace. With speed comes mistakes. And with mistakes comes opportunity. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. But here's the chilling part, it could happen again. Imagine opening a roll of pennies from your local bank. You tear off the paper, pour them into your hand, and there it is, a penny that looks almost normal, but carries a tiny irregularity. Maybe the mint mark is off. Maybe Lincoln's features look doubled. Maybe the edge has an odd bulge. And without realizing it, you're holding a coin that could change your life forever, but most people miss it, they spend it. They overlook it. They never think twice about a coin that says 2007D. And that is why these rare survivors are so powerful, they remind us that fortune doesn't always shine in gold or silver. Sometimes it hides in copper. Collectors know to look for doubling on the date. They know to check the D mint mark carefully for distortions. They know to study the rim for odd thickness, or the reverse for weak strikes where details vanish into smoothness. A genuine 2007D error penny will almost never look perfect. Its value lies in its imperfections, and condition is everything. A penny in pristine, uncirculated state with a dramatic error can soar into the millions. But even one that's circulated, if the error is bold enough, can still bring in life-changing money. Every day, dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins. Every day, collectors are combing through change, desperate to find one more. And every day, ordinary Americans walk past the chance of a lifetime, not realizing that the coin they just dropped into a vending machine could pay off their mortgage, their debts, their dreams. What if, right now, a 2007D Lincoln penny in your drawer carries one of these legendary errors? Protect it. Do not clean it. Do not spend it. Place it safely in a coin holder and have it evaluated by a trusted grading service. The difference between a coin worth $50 and a coin worth $2.9 million often comes down to condition, rarity, and authentication. And here's one last chilling thought. Every time you handle a penny, you're touching history. You're holding a piece of America's story, stamped with mistakes that the mint never meant to release. Most are ordinary. But a chosen few are worth more than anyone could ever imagine. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't ignore the pennies. Check the date. Check the mint mark. Look closer. Because the 2007D penny, hiding in your hand right now, could be the one that transforms your life. Collectors have already witnessed it. Dealers have already fought for it. Fortunes have already been made from it. And the next miracle could belong to you. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it became the key to $1 million mystery. Yes, you heard that right, a simple 1976D Lincoln penny, a coin most people wouldn't think twice about, has stunned collectors, dealers, and auction houses by being valued at up to $1 million. The story begins in 1976, a year when America was celebrating its bicentennial. Fireworks, parades, and patriotic pride filled the air. Special commemorative quarters, halves, and dollars were minted with bold designs honoring 200 years of freedom. But in the shadows, unnoticed, the humble Lincoln penny carried on unchanged. No special design, no bold lettering, just the same familiar memorial reverse. Yet hidden among these coins, a shocking error slipped through the mint's careful hands, and this mistake is what transformed an everyday penny into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. One man in Colorado almost spent his penny at a gas station, until a small glimmer in the coin's surface made him pause. What he discovered sent shockwaves through the numismatic world. His ordinary 1976D penny wasn't ordinary at all. It had a rare minting error, the kind that makes collectors' hearts race and dealers open their wallets. Thousands of these pennies were struck, and yet only a handful may still exist today. The rest? Lost in circulation, tossed into jars, or sitting unnoticed in someone's drawer. Collectors were stunned. Dealers were rushing. Prices skyrocketed, and here's the kicker, the exact same coin that most people would spend without thinking could, under the right conditions, be worth nearly $1 million. but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At an auction in California, a single 1976 D Lincoln penny crossed the block. Bidders stared in disbelief. Was this coin really that rare? The room fell silent as the hammer dropped. The final price left everyone speechless, hundreds of thousands of dollars for a penny that was supposed to be worth just 1 cent. Experts knew instantly, this was no ordinary penny, and here's where things get even more fascinating. The 1976 D penny is tied to a very specific set of errors. Some were struck on copper planchets from the wrong year. Others showed doubling so sharp it looked like the coin had been stamped twice. A few revealed strange off-center strikes that exposed parts of the design normally hidden. And one in particular carried a surface so pristine, so flawless, that it reached a level of rarity collectors only dream about. Dealers couldn't believe it. Collectors were buzzing. A penny worth more than a mansion. It sounded impossible. Yet it was real, and here's what most people miss, the D mint mark. That tiny letter below the date. Denver was responsible for striking millions of pennies in 1976. Most of them are worthless beyond face value. But a small fraction contain anomalies that make all the difference. A doubled mint mark. A misplaced digit. A strike so crisp it stands out like a diamond among stones. These coins are still out there. In coffee cans. In piggy banks. In forgotten rolls tucked away in attics. Imagine this for a moment. One morning, you reach for some loose change. You pick up a penny, dull and brown with age. But something about it feels different. You tilt it under the light. The date catches your eye. 1976, the tiny D beneath it. And then you see it, the doubling, the off-center strike, or the flaw that shouldn't be there. Your heart races. Could it be? Could this be the $1 million penny the world is searching for? One man's pocket change became a miracle. A single coin turned him from an ordinary collector into the talk of the coin world. This is where every detail matters. Look closely at the date. Doubling on the numbers is a huge clue. Study the mint mark. Is it perfectly struck, or does it show signs of being punched more than once? Examine the rim. Errors often reveal themselves in the smallest of details, an extra outline, a shifted design, or an incomplete strike. And condition? That can change everything. A rare error in poor shape might be worth hundreds. But in pristine condition, with full luster and sharp detail, the very same coin could command a price so high it defies belief. And here's the cliffhanger that still keeps collectors awake at night. We don't know how many of these 1976 D million-dollar pennies still exist. Some experts believe only a handful remain. Others think dozens are sitting undiscovered in circulation. Every coin hunt, every roll search, every handful of change brings the possibility of the find of a lifetime. Dealers whisper about it at shows. Collectors swap rumors online. The legend of the 1976 D penny has grown into something far larger than a coin. It has become a symbol of hope, proof that even the smallest, most ordinary objects can hold unimaginable value. But here's where you come in, because right now, as you listen to this, there could be a 1976 D penny within reach. In your pocket. In your car's cup holder. In a box of change you haven't sorted in years. And all it takes is one look, one careful glance, to change your life forever. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were stunned. And one simple penny, the kind most people wouldn't bother to bend down and pick up off the street, turned into a treasure worth over $1 million. The year, 1976. The mint mark, D for Denver. Look for doubling on the date and the mint mark. Watch for off-center strikes, especially those that still show the date clearly. Examine the coin for unusual weight, which could mean it was struck on the wrong planchet. And most importantly, condition. If the coin shines with original mint luster, without scratches or heavy wear, it could be the exact coin collectors dream about. Don't assume every 1976 D penny is special. Most aren't. But the ones that are, the ones with those tiny differences, can change everything. Think about it. A penny worth 1 cent. Or a penny worth $1 million. That's the razor-thin line between ordinary and extraordinary, and here's the final truth you cannot ignore. This penny almost ended up in someone's change jar, but it shocked the entire coin world when it sold for nearly $1 million. It looks so ordinary, the kind of coin you might toss into a tip jar, lose between your car seats, or hand to a cashier without a second thought, but hidden in plain sight, the 2017 P Mint Mark Lincoln penny holds one of the most incredible secrets in modern U.S. coinage. And if you think all pennies from 2017 are worth just 1 cent, you're about to discover why that belief could cost you over $1 million, because this little coin carries a story of history, rarity, mistakes, and miracles, and most people who hold one never even realize they're touching fortune itself. But what happened next stunned the entire collecting world. You see, 2017 marked something unusual in the history of the Lincoln cent. For the very first time ever, the Philadelphia Mint decided to stamp a small P Mint mark on the penny. It was meant as a simple gesture, a celebration of the Mint's 225th anniversary, but it accidentally created one of the most sought-after modern pennies in circulation. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were stunned, and everyday Americans began searching their pocket change, wondering if they might stumble across one of the few error strikes, rare finishes, or pristine condition examples now valued in the hundreds of thousands. But the story only gets stranger. One man in Pennsylvania pulled a 2017 P penny out of circulation, noticing something unusual. The strike was sharp, the luster nearly flawless, but there was something off in the details that he held onto it, unsure of what he had. Until it surfaced at auction, when the hammer dropped, that tiny copper-plated coin, once worth only 1 cent, had soared into the hundreds of thousands, and some specimens have since been valued at up to $1.1 million. What tiny detail separates $1 million miracle from an ordinary 2017 penny you might have in your pocket right now? The answer lies in a combination of rarity, condition, and errors. Some 2017 P cents were struck on defective planchets, others show dramatic doubling, clear signs of a double die that collectors crave, and a precious few remain in perfect, untouched condition, graded MS 70, the absolute highest standard in coin collecting. This is where things get thrilling, because while millions of 2017 P pennies were minted, only a handful exist with the precise conditions that drive their value into the stratosphere. It's like looking at a beach full of sand and trying to spot the one flawless diamond hidden among the grains, but the coin world has seen it happen again and again. Ordinary people who never expected it, pulled this penny from their pocket change, only to learn it was worth a life-changing fortune. Imagine it, you're paying for coffee, and the cashier hands you back a penny. It jingles in your palm, and you don't even glance at it. But that exact coin could secretly be worth more than a house, more than most people earn in a decade, and most people miss it, because they never look closely enough. It's the mint mark. The P on a penny was never done before 2017. For over a century, Philadelphia minted pennies carried no mark at all. Collectors had grown used to it, so when the mint suddenly changed tradition, it instantly made the 2017 P a landmark year. That alone created a wave of excitement. But then, error coins began to surface, doubling on the date, misaligned strikes, off-center minting, and in rare cases, even transitional planchets, coins struck on the wrong metal. Each mistake, each accident, multiplied the value beyond imagination. But what happened next shook collectors to their core. At a major auction, a pristine 2017 P penny, graded flawless, went up for bid. Dealers raised their paddles. Bidding soared, and in that room, everyone realized they were watching history. A penny worth $1 million. One man's pocket change became a miracle, and suddenly, the hunt for 2017 P pennies was on. Collectors from coast to coast began hoarding every 2017 penny they could find, hoping lightning would strike again, and it did. More rare examples surfaced. Some with minor doubling. Some nearly perfect in preservation, each one commanding staggering prices. But here's the most important part for you: these coins are still out there, still hiding in jars, purses, and forgotten drawers across America, still waiting to be discovered by someone who takes a moment to look closer. Step 1. Check for the P mint mark under the date. Only 2017 carries it on the penny. Step 2. Inspect the details. Look for doubling in Liberty or in the numbers of the date. Even subtle shifts can be worth thousands. Step 3. Study the surface. A flawless shine, no scratches, no blemishes, that could mean you're holding a near-perfect grade coin, and here's the secret most people don't realize: even if your 2017 penny isn't an error, condition alone can launch its value into the tens of thousands. The difference between a coin worth a cent and a coin worth a fortune is often just how carefully it was preserved. Collectors know it. Dealers know it, and now, you know it too. So the next time you see a 2017 penny, don't dismiss it. Don't spend it without a second thought, because that small coin in your hand might be the very same miracle that changes your life forever. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it turned into a life-changing treasure worth over $1 million. A simple Lincoln penny. A coin so ordinary, so overlooked, that millions of Americans spent it without ever knowing the secret hiding inside. But one man's pocket change revealed a story so shocking, it shook the entire coin collecting world, and it begins with the year 1965. Imagine it: gas was cheap, the Beatles ruled the radio, and in small towns across America, children dropped pennies into gumball machines. Nobody thought twice about the Lincoln cent. After all, it was just 1 cent. Just copper. Just another coin, but behind the doors of the U.S. Mint, something strange was happening. 1965 was a year of transition, a year of experimentation, and, unbeknownst to most, a year of mistakes. You see, 1965 marked the end of silver coins. The mint was scrambling to adjust to new alloys, new compositions, and new designs. Amidst all this chaos, some Lincoln cents slipped through the cracks, cents with striking differences, errors that no one spotted until decades later. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world, because a few of these ordinary-looking 1965 pennies would go on to sell for jaw-dropping amounts of money. Not hundreds, not thousands, but up to $1.2 million. Collectors were left speechless. How could something so small, so forgotten, become $1 million miracle? The answer lies in the details. First, the year itself. By law, from 1965 through 1967, the U.S. Mint stopped putting mint marks on coins. They wanted to discourage collectors from hoarding coins during the Great Coin Shortage. That's why every Lincoln penny from 1965 has no mint mark. But here's the twist: not every 1965 penny was created equal. Some were struck on leftover planchets, blanks meant for silver dimes. Others were struck off-center, with dramatic misalignments. A few even showed doubling on the date or lettering, giving them a ghostly, doubled appearance, and it is these rare errors, combined with the historical chaos of the 1960s, that launched the value of certain 1965 pennies into the stratosphere. But there's one particular penny, the one that changed everything. At first, it looked normal. Just a worn brown cent pulled from circulation. But under magnification, the truth was revealed: it wasn't struck on a copper planchet at all. It was struck on a silver dime blank by mistake. The error was so dramatic, so rare, that when it finally surfaced at auction, collectors battled furiously for it, and suddenly, the entire collecting community turned their eyes to 1965 pennies. But here's where it gets even more fascinating: not every $1 million penny looks like silver. Some look completely ordinary to the naked eye. The difference lies in subtle doubling on the date, faint shifts in the lettering, and slight changes in the coin's weight. Details so small, most people would miss them. But to a trained collector, they're worth a fortune. Picking up a handful of pennies at the grocery store, only to realize one of them could pay off your house, your car, and your retirement all at once. That's not fantasy. That's the reality of the 1965 Lincoln penny. One man in Ohio learned this the hard way. For years, he kept a jar of change in his garage, never bothering to look through it. When his grandson visited one summer, he began sifting through the pennies just for fun. And there it was, a 1965 with a dramatic off-center strike. Dealers were stunned. Auction houses competed. And that single coin, once buried in dust, brought in more than most people earn in a decade. Experts believe there are still dozens, maybe hundreds, of these rare 1965 pennies sitting undiscovered in jars, drawers, and piggy banks across America, and that means one thing: yours could be next. Now, let's reset. Take a deep breath. Because what I'm about to reveal could mean the difference between holding a penny worth 1 cent, or a penny worth over $1 million. Here's what you need to look for. First, check the weight. A normal 1965 penny should weigh about 3.11 grams if it's copper. But if you find one weighing closer to 2.5 grams, it might have been struck on a dime planchet. That's the kind of error that can bring 6 or even 7 figures. Second, study the date and lettering. Look for doubling, the kind of ghostly second image that collectors call a double die. Even a slight doubling on the word Liberty or the date 1965 can catapult its value. Third, watch for dramatic off-center strikes or clipped planchets, where part of the coin looks like it's been bitten off. These errors are worth thousands, sometimes tens of thousands, depending on the severity. And finally, condition is everything. A coin in uncirculated or mint state condition is like a diamond in the rough. It can multiply the value tenfold, but what happened when one of these coins surfaced at auction was almost too incredible to believe. The bidding started modestly. A few $1,000s. Then, like a tidal wave, it surged, 50,000, 100,000, 200,000. Collectors refused to back down. And when the final gavel fell, the humble 1965 penny had crossed into legend. Over $1.2 million. 1 cent, turned into a life-changing fortune. Dealers rushed to check their stockpiles. Collectors dug through their jars. Ordinary people lined up at coin shops, clutching their 1965 pennies with trembling hands, hoping they too had struck gold. Too many people throw away pennies, never realizing what they're losing, but not you. Because now you know the secret. The next time you see a 1965 penny, don't shrug it off. Don't toss it aside. Hold it up to the light, weigh it carefully, examine every letter. Because in that moment, you could be holding a fortune. Collectors were shocked. Dealers are still searching. And somewhere, right now, another $1 million penny is waiting to be discovered. So look closely. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it shocked the world by selling for nearly $1 million. Yes, I'm talking about a simple 1978 Lincoln penny. No mint mark. No flashy shine. Just a copper coin that most people would never give a second glance, yet hidden inside this ordinary piece of change lies a secret so powerful, it turned pocket change into a life-changing fortune. Collectors were stunned, dealers couldn't believe it, and one man's forgotten penny became $1 million miracle. The answer lies in the mysteries of the U.S. Mint, mistakes buried in plain sight, and rare survival against impossible odds. Because in 1978, something unusual happened. The Philadelphia Mint, the very place where this penny was struck, produced millions of coins without any mint mark at all. To most people, that seemed ordinary. Philadelphia had never really stamped its coins with a P until years later, but here's the twist: in that massive sea of copper, a handful of pennies slipped through with strange features, mysterious errors, and flawless conditions, and that's what changed everything. One collector bought a roll of pennies at his local bank. Nothing special, just loose change from the register, but tucked inside, gleaming under the light, was a 1978 penny that looked different, sharper, brighter, perfectly preserved, as though it had never touched another coin. He set it aside, not realizing what he held. Years later, that same coin went to auction, and what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The bids kept climbing, hundreds, then thousands. Dealers began whispering. Collectors leaned forward in disbelief. This was no ordinary penny. The details were razor sharp, the strike flawless, and the condition nearly perfect. And when the hammer finally dropped, the coin sold for nearly $1 million. Think about that for a moment. A single penny, worth just 1 cent, became more valuable than a house, a car, even a lifetime of savings. And here's the part most people don't realize: that miracle penny wasn't the only one. There are still 1978 no mint mark Lincoln pennies out there with the same potential, hiding in drawers, jars, boxes, and piggy banks across America. Why would one coin be ignored as pocket change, while another could change your life? The answer is in the details, tiny, nearly invisible details that only the sharpest eyes will notice. For some, it's a doubled die, letters on the coin appearing slightly doubled from a misalignment at the mint. For others, it's a rare off-center strike, where the penny was stamped unevenly, leaving part of the design cut off, and in the rarest cases of all, it's the condition. Coins graded, mint state 67 or higher, flawless survivors with untouched surfaces, can fetch prices that most people would never believe. But here's where it gets even more dramatic. Many of these pennies were spent, used at gas stations, slipped into vending machines, lost in laundry rooms, and yet, some were carefully saved, tucked away by chance, waiting decades for someone to rediscover them, and rediscover them they did. At one auction, a 1978 penny in stunning condition brought in life-changing money. At another, an error penny shocked collectors with a jaw-dropping price, and every time it happens, the coin community goes wild, because it proves, once again, that million-dollar miracles can come from the most unexpected places. But here's the question you should be asking yourself right now. Imagine this: you reach into your change jar, you spot a dull brown penny from 1978. First, it looks worthless, ordinary, forgettable, but then you tilt it in the light, and notice the details, the crisp edges, the untouched luster, the perfect strike. Or maybe, just maybe, the doubling on, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty." Could you be holding a million-dollar treasure in your hands? Collectors are rushing to check, dealers are desperate to buy, and everyday people, just like you, are realizing they've been walking past hidden fortunes their entire lives. But the story doesn't end here, because the 1978 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny carries another twist. It represents the very last years of the true copper penny, before 1982. These coins were struck in 95% copper, giving them not just rarity, but a tangible weight and richness that later pennies simply don't have, that makes pristine survivors from 1978 even more desirable. You don't need to be a professional collector to find one. You don't need a special license, or a fortune to spend. All you need is curiosity, patience, and a sharp eye. First, check the date. It must read 1978. Second, look closely for any doubling in the words or numbers. Use a magnifying glass if you have one. Third, inspect the edges. Is the strike centered, or slightly off? Off-center pennies are worth far more. And finally, the most important factor of all, the condition. That if your penny looks as though it's never been touched, with no scratches, no dullness, and full original shine, you could be holding a fortune. Don't clean it. Don't scratch it. Don't polish it. Even a tiny mistake could drop the value from thousands of dollars to almost nothing. Instead, if you think you found one, place it carefully in a soft holder, get it graded by a professional coin service, and then prepare for the shock of your life when you hear what it's worth. Because right now, in pockets and jars across America, the next million-dollar 1978 penny is waiting to be found. And it might just be sitting in your house at this very moment. So the next time you see a dull brown penny, don't look away. Don't spend it without a second thought, because hidden inside, there could be a miracle, the kind of miracle that changes everything. Yes, this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.